Hello, everybody. This is Sean, and this is an adventure in oil trading. And today is Friday, 1/11/19, January 11th, 2019. And happy Friday. So, another week in the books and ended a nice positive week. Actually, the best week that I've ever had, live or demo. So, to have my best week ever and the first week that I went live, I really can't complain about that. However, I'm going to try to find a way. No, I don't want to be negative and complain, but I do want to improve. And I'm constantly seeking and moving towards trying to improve. And every day when I continue to make some of the similar and same mistakes, it's frustrating. And with a phenomenal week like this, the part that unfortunately I don't like about how the week went, it just seems like there's too much variance. And I haven't talked about this much yet, and I'm going to do another video on my plan to kind of progressively scale my size and how I can scale my trading. And after this week having good results, the numbers scale really nicely as far as the profit and loss. But the variability in my losses and the amount of losses that I'm taking, and I know that may just be part of the edge, but I don't see it as being part of the edge because the way that they come up, either through error trades or just making unnecessary mistakes, and also losses or break-even trades that, if managed differently, would have been large wins. And that's probably the main thing. And that just throws so much variance in the edge, especially when I'm not trading consistently. For example, I'll get into this after my first trade, my first loss of the day, because I managed it too tightly rather than my conventional putting a stop above the bar high to use as protection. I put it behind a small high volume area, and a 4 tick difference made a loss which would have been a 30, 40, 50 tick win. So, but not trying to be a complainer, not trying to be negative at all. And I don't know if people feel that my attitude or my psychology is negative and that is hindering me, please let me know, because sometimes we aren't able to be aware of how we are without some kind of feedback. So again, like I said, I'm just really trying to improve consistently, and my goals are big, and I want to be able to scale this from trading one lot now to continually progressively doubling my size that I'm trading. But as the week goes, up nearly 100 ticks on the week is a phenomenal, is great. I think anybody would be happy, not anybody, but I'm sure there's people that do much better, but many people would be happy to have that result on a week and a very large size increase in my account. But it wouldn't be something that I feel like I could confidently trade with a 100 lot or a 10 lot even, and that's my goal. And if I can do this on one lot, I feel like I can do it with 10, and I feel like I can do it with 100. Some people are going to say, well, you can't do that with 100 because there's not enough liquidity in oil, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out what that looks like. So let's get to it. My opinion and my perception kind of the day coming in may have skewed me a little bit as well to really looking like we are likely to have a large correction, and we've moved up very quickly, very fast, and bumped right up into this supply zone in here, and also in the back, right back up in the top side of this consolidation. So you can kind of see this small little bar, and it's not quite a star, and I'm not big on candlestick patterns at all, but when you do get these very small bars like this, there's generally some kind of a correction or a move in the opposite side to at least explore the other side and to find some buyers in here. And that was my expectation coming in. And what we ended up getting, I mean, the day's not over yet, but we just got this very choppy, volatile day, which makes sense because the auction is trying to discover which way it wants to go. But the morning session, early on, it was very volatile in a small range, which can be difficult to trade for sure, especially when you're trying to trade on real small 10 tick or less stops. I mean, it's very difficult to trade that style. So my expectation was for a kind of an equal and opposite large move down to at least fill in some of this space. I didn't and haven't gotten that yet. You can kind of see the same thing with this large tail here, which kind of confirms what my expectation was, because we did explore higher prices and sold off and fairly sharply rejected. We had some acceptance of price up here near the top, but for the most part this tail is pretty thin, and now we've settled right back into this balance and the VPOC of yesterday. So that's what makes trade hard, and I should have probably quit earlier than I did even today, because we really settled into this area fairly early on in the session. So coming into the morning, after looking at that, then I'm back here on my 15-minute, and price kind of confirmed my idea and my concept for the day, in that the overnight session we had this probe higher up into 53.30 in this area, and then a pretty large sell-off all the way down, kind of a first leg here, small consolidation, and then all the way down to here. And that went through the open. So pre-open, right about here, I was looking at this large first leg. So right away, I'm already thinking we're going to come either up back to test this higher side of this large high volume area up here, but also more likely when you see these one leg downs, there's a continuation, so some kind of consolidation here. So I would be trading that, looking for shorts into this left side over here, into these, and you can see there's large buyers obviously in this area. A lot of confluence with these bar highs and this imbalance move up, and then coming down here, and buyers stepping in here, not only once, twice, 3 times. Now there's 2 ways to look at it. People will all say that the more times that price rejects there, that's a very strong support level. But how I've always learned and have been taught is that the more times price touches a level, the more likely it is to break, or at least be tested. And that's what ended up happening today. What you can see, a very sharp, harsh, hard rejection, where likely a lot of stops were hit and liquidity was taken by large buyers and pushed back up. So that's enough market commentary, blah blah blah. But that does help me kind of shape my trades and my concepts and my ideas for what I'm looking at and planning for the day. Here's my performance, and it seems this week, especially the later part of the week, I've been coming from behind quite a bit, and then when you start from behind like this, for me anyway, you start getting some mental negative self-talk. Should I quit? Should I just call it a day? I don't want to end into the week, head into the weekend in a full loss day. And those are the things, I know they're not good, I know they're not helpful, but they are there. So it's important that I discuss and talk about them, and I'm trying to get rid of them and trying to work through some psychological methods of canceling those things out when shaking my head when they come up, saying no, cancel that. There's a lot of different tricks that I've read about and people have told me that may help. So if anybody else has any other suggestions, please let me know. I would love to have as much help and tactics to tackle those kind of things. But in my experience, what has also been helpful is I'm not here to second guess what I'm doing or say, should I do this or shouldn't I do that? All I'm here to do is execute on my edge. So the minute, after 4 trades, 4 losses, if I don't hit my rule of a loss limit, I have to continue to trade and take the setups as I see them, because if I don't do that, then I'm putting variance and variability in my edge, because you don't know what the outcome of the next trade is going to be. So if you try to start influencing your decisions on, I'm going to stop now, when there is likely still volatility in the market, and when there will likely still be further range expansion, especially that's what I'm playing for. And today, when you have a day that is in a very narrow range, especially after the open, some kind of range expansion is very likely. Of course, nothing is ever certain, but especially in oil, you see some kind of range expansion, especially outside of the initial balance levels. And so I kept on. Fortunately, I got a real nice win. Let's go through the specifics of that I want to get on my journal, because it's important that I have this out there, and that I talk about this a little bit, because I need to get a handle on it, because I keep doing this. And we can see that 650 I took a short, and we can see that exactly what I was watching here at 650 is after this leg down, this retrace up, and then this consolidation. So my concept and what I'm looking for on this trade is to get short with an expectation of another move down to break these lows and continue for a second leg. Exactly what happened. Unfortunately, my trade management has not been very good. So we can see right around here, this is what I'm watching. This is when my setup really comes in, and we have all of this large volume here to the left. We get a push down, and then real chunky large volume here. And at this point, I'm convinced that I want to try to get on the short side here. As soon as we push down here, I'm in below this. I think at 650, I'm not in there till 650. So I'm in here around 650, around here. I think I took this at 24, and as soon as we get this tiny little move down here, I put my stop up here at 28 behind this volume, whereas where it should have been is behind this bar high here. So I was in after this bar, with this bar high still intact, because I also saw this as trade confirmation that we didn't get much interaction from buyers, showing that buyers are likely weak here. So to enter right around after this bar, you can't see it on this this point and figure footprint chart very well because it's not time based, but you can see it a little bit better here on this push up 46, and then I'm in right around here at 650, and then putting my stop behind that volume, I get one ticked 29, price goes to 29, and then it's just, it's pretty frustrating but it's what kind of in a way of what I deserve, because generally my typical rule is to set for protection behind bar highs of where this price failed, and that would be right here at 32. I got taken out at 28. My entry was at 24. So for 4 ticks of additional risk, I gave up at least a test of this low at 52.03. That would have been my first target. So at least 20, but likely what I was looking at was a test down to test these lows. That's right here into these lows, and then possibly into the VPOC right here. The point of control from yesterday, which is at 75, which you can see after we did have a rejection at 52.03. Probably would have taken it off there, or else that would have come all the way back and taken me out. Geez, I'm not even looking at the right area. 650. So this, yeah, so no, actually I would have, it would have gone all the way, barely stopped, it pushed all the way right down into the VPOC right here. So sorry, I'm getting a little confused as to what I'm looking at, but it's better to look at this on so 51.74 price went to right a minute after 2 minutes after I was stopped out. So that's frustrating. So, to start my session off with a 4-tick loss, when it very likely, if I would have just followed my conventional break even, because you say, well, when would you break even? Go to break even, and that's another rule that I generally have. So we have 650 right here. So until we get at least a test of this swing low below this bar low here at 52.20, I shouldn't be de-risking, and even more so shouldn't be taking any risk off before this 12. But probably you can see this is a pretty decent low. Once this is tested, because I wouldn't want price to go below this and come back up. So if price gets below here, comes back and takes me out, I'm fine with that. But just to nick me out for one tick, you know, that drives you a little crazy for sure. But I deserve it. I did that. I set it up that way and I managed it that way. So, but to have price dump all the way to 51.75, 50 ticks below your entry 1 minute later, that's quite frustrating. So that's all right. 7.11.50, I got long for a 7 tick loss. 7.11. So my timing was just slightly off here. You can see 7.11, I was right around a good area of really finding a good long setup here. And what I was trading here was this consolidation. My expectation was to kind of fill in that last push down. This guy right here, and at least to get a test of up into these untested bar lows here. And 7.11, I get long, and what happens, 7.11 is about right here. So I'm this failure here, I'm getting in about right around this area. My expectation is to come up and push through and test this volume and these bar lows, see this volume and these bar lows at least to that area. What happens on this trade, when we come up to here, we hold this volume here to the left, which is, I mean, normal. And once that happens, price comes down, flushes these lows one more time, and off to the races. So being right again on the idea, slightly early, we get one more test down. But I mean, again, to be 1 or 2 minutes on the wrong side of, you know, getting stopped out and then getting a large 86.9606 1630 tick 30 tick move on that. You can see it sells off after that, but my expectation only on this trade is to come up and test, you know, into these bar lows. That would be my expectation. So 52.12.10. So I mean, that would have been, you could say that this might give you trouble a little bit, but this I consider tested, this low already right here. So that's how that goes. So now I'm another loss when I'm watching this, and my idea plays out exactly. My area is right. My timing is on the wrong side by about a minute or two. So that's 2 in a row. So now I'm down 11, where I was looking at it that I could have easily been up 70. So, but you know, that's how it goes. At this point, 7.29, I try to get long again. And this trade just didn't work out. 7.29, price pushes down here. I'm feeling like we may be failing this lower side, and right here. And sometimes I look at this in too much detail on Bookmap, and I see this spike down. All of a sudden, my expectation is that this is going to hold and we're going to push higher, at least into test where this supply is. Didn't work out. I took a full loss, 10 ticks. 7.46, I'm back on the short, and that's after this move down here, this move down to make new low. We come up here. This is what I'm looking at here. So we come up and hold kind of this consolidation area from this. We get this push up into this area, and we fail back down. So now at this point, my expectation is we're going to go back down to test and break these lows and to have further range expansion. And this was heavily reliant on my belief that we're going to have a large down move. It was likely to see some kind of further, you know, fairly considerable expansion to the downside. 7, we can see I took another loss, 7.46. That was kind of after this imbalance down. All this volume comes in. 7.40, we get this little poke up. Nothing much happens. 7.40. So right here, and then I manage this again way too tightly, and I get taken out on this little poke up. Fortunately, 750, I jump right back in on it, and you can't even see where I got in, but on this chart anyway, 750. So this is kind of more of a breakout. What I'm seeing, I'm looking at order flow and Bookmap, and it just seems like buyers are very weak at this point, and a test of this low is very likely, and further range expansion. So 750, I get short again, and we get within minutes, we get this just very, very violent, explosive move. And how did I manage this? Because it happened. You can see how it happened. I mean, in 1 minute, there was no way that I could. It moved so fast, and I didn't want to take, because that's happened too, where I set a target only like 10 or 15, 20 ticks ahead, and I get this explosive move that I am expecting. So what I ended up doing is dragging my target way down to, I believe, to right in, and it happened so fast I'm not even sure exactly where it was, but I think it was right around to test this low, to break this low, so right around 34, 35 area. And it happened so quickly that it was just hit almost, in a matter of seconds on this push down. You barely got any chance to do much of anything. You can see 748, 749, and then this happens just all the way down to 30. And so you can see this imbalance where all these likely stops are hit. So my target was filled in that area. And so great trade, and it continued. It stopped just for a second and then pushed down again and made this, and that ended up being the 51.18, the low for the session there so far. So can't complain about that. 934, again, pretty stubborn on, and I guess a little antsy too. 934 is getting pretty late in the session. We're already looking at things being, a lot of the volume has already left the market. So things are getting quiet, kind of choppy, and we're just kind of chopping around in this. So not a very great trade. 934, I take a 5-tick loss. Let's see kind of if I can identify where that is. Yeah, I remember. I mean, it was kind of in this area. My expectation was that the bottom side of this little consolidation was holding, and we were going to fail down to test down into these lows. The problem with this trade is that right around 74.80 is just this really choppy balance area, so not good to be trading around there. And then 943, I take one more shot at a short. 943, I take one more shot at the short right here on this push back up into this area. And I get a decent, I get 10 ticks on my favorable excursion down into this push here. And at this push is where my expectation was that it would hold anyway. So at this point, I de-risk, hoping that this will come down to test these lows and move lower. Didn't happen, obviously, and I got taken out for a +1 break even. So that's basically it. I'm trying to make them not quite as long. I know they're seems like every single day they're 30 minutes long, but I'm super grateful and thankful for how the week turned out. I've just really am going to spend some time this week thinking and working on my self-talk and my mentality of breaking away from having so much fear, fear of loss, and also fear of feeling like at any minute I'm just approaching disaster. And I don't want that to be my trading style or my mentality, because it's just kind of brutal. It can be not fun too. It creates nervousness and anxiety, and I want to be excited and just executing and try to take a little more of the emotion out of my trading. But good result. I probably am going to do a week review at some point this weekend, and I'm here in Colorado and it's snowing today, so it's not going to be a real nice weekend for doing much. But thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend.